Hey everybody, how's it going? Hopefully y'all having a great day. The other day I was talking to one of my friends and he said hands down probably the funniest thing that I've ever heard. And we were just talking, and for those of you who don't know, I've never done drugs, I've never drank, I've never smoked, really nothing, right? And he was like, I was thinking about the other day, and you're just like raw dogging life. you're just playing life on hard mode right now. And while I had just an absolute massive laugh, and to date, again, one of the funniest things anybody's ever said to me, it got me thinking, like, yeah, I guess you're right. And I guess that is an oddity. So why am I able to do it and others aren't? And even at that, I'm not struggling through it either. I mean, I'm having an absolute blast, right? Like, I'm loving life. And it got me thinking, like, what am I doing differently? And after thinking about it a while, I really do think that it boils down to this idea that I find a lot of what I do and a lot of my day-to-day very fulfilling. And I hope that I can kind of share with you how I find it so fulfilling, and hopefully you can apply this to your own life. So first things first, I think it's important to understand where everything started, right? So if you think about humans in general, right? Like, think back to the earliest forms of man, and put that person in isolation, right? Just that sole person, no other human exists, right? Back then we were very simple creatures, right? Like, we have very simple rule sets to living life. I mean, you think about it, it's predominantly just our own individual self that determines our own fulfillment, right? As it says here, they're internally driven indicators, right? Are we hungry versus full? Are we cold versus warm, right? And these are very easy to listen to, you know? So presumably if you have this early man who is on a full stomach after a hunt and is sitting next to a fire, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, right? But however, when you take this person and you remove him from isolation, something very interesting happens, right? When you put this previous early version of man, when you take him out of isolation and put him within a group setting where he is among other men who care for the same thing, right? Or women who care for the same thing, a very interesting thing happens, right? These basic tasks become significantly easier, right? You think about the very classic hunter-gatherer, right? To gather enough berries or to hunt enough food to fill yourself is very hard to do by yourself, right? However, when we started doing things as a group, right, especially with hunting, and you think about pack tactics and things like that, hunting became significantly easier. So it should be all good, right? Well, not really, right? A new game emerged within humans that is a result of this social structure. And that is social interactions and really externally driven factors for fulfillment, right? Now, what do I mean by that? Now, if you think back to this hunt example, right? It's, did you pull your own weight in the hunt, right? If you fail to do so, you might even get less food or just no food in general, right? Or let's say you didn't pull your weight in the hunt and you got just the same amount of food as the person who did the most work in the hunt. How would they feel, right? Your action of eating the same amount of food as the person who contributed significantly more to the hunt may inspire anger, may inspire jealousy from that other person, right? So while you yourself are just looking out for your own individual needs, your actions might affect the fulfillment of somebody else. Somebody else might get less fulfillment out of that hunt because you ate what they felt was their food, right? Do your actions support what is best for the group, or are you kind of self-serving, right? This could alter other people's perceptions of you, which ultimately would reduce your standing in the group or even potentially get you removed entirely, right? So we now see this situation where the primitive human who is only looking for internally driven metrics for fulfillment, if they pursue that just solely based off of that, you might run into a situation where now socially you are actually doing a disservice to others and potentially even a disservice to yourself, right? So again, at this point, while everyone is still fundamentally the same individual human looking to satisfy their own like barometers for fulfillment of life, we now have to be mindful of how our actions affect other people's fulfillments, right? So let's take that from earliest forms of human to today, right? Humans today, we don't have a lot of the same worries, right? We don't have to hunt for our food. Well, some people do it as a sport, but a majority of people on a day-to-day basis don't actually have to go hunt for their food, right? We don't have to prioritize, a specific tribe that we belong to in a more traditional sense. But we do have a variety of other noise going on as a result of this introduction to these social circles, right? Modern humans, we're riddled with well, I guess maybe not everyone, but most people nowadays have some form of anxiety, and a lot of us are just riddled with it, and how this kind of like obsession with how our own decisions and actions affect others, and specifically our standing with them. With all of this in play, it can kind of become a little bit blurred of what we do for us versus what we do for others, right? And it's not really like a on-off switch there. It's a spectrum, right? So, let's take a couple examples. You think about latest fashion trends, right? Do we really care about that? Or is that something where the social repercussions of being out of style with our particular circle is just unimaginable, so we just buy into the fashion, right? Is this idea that, oh, my friend over there who is very fashionable, who is very attractive, I want to be on par with them so I don't get removed from the group. Therefore, I buy into the same fashion trends, right? Let's think about it in terms of buying assets, right? A lot of people have neighbors or friends that, kind of inadvertently compete with themselves, right? You may have a 35-year-old friend who has already bought a house and is, living on however many acres of land, and you're still renting, So I guess the question is, am I really utilizing all of this house that I just bought? Or is the thought of being an adult in some random age bracket who doesn't own real estate, is that driving the purchase, right? So these are kind of examples of where, is it really me, or is it the repercussions within my social circle of not doing this thing that is driving the action, right? So again, in a society that benefits from this is actually a side point. In a society that benefits from promoting consumerism, the answers to these questions have a lot of layers, and it can cause a lot of confusion, right? So the question stands to be asked, well, how do you then personally find fulfillment, right? Because, are we thinking about others? Are we thinking about ourselves? Like, where do we go from here, right? Well, honestly, it's subjective, and it's hard to give you a step-by-step instruction, right? It's nearly 100% subjective of if you, viewer, feel fulfillment in your own life or not, right? However, without a step-by-step guide, we can maybe produce some practices that might be able to help you, right? And this practice particularly is drawn from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that is to just begin with the end in mind, right? Isolate yourself. Bring yourself back to that primitive human, and just isolate yourself from the group, right? I'm not asking you to worry about hunting versus not hunting, full versus not full, cold versus warm, right? But more so, isolate yourself from the social environment around yourself and ask, what matters? Like, what matters to me? Who matters to me? And what do I even care about, right? Just to give a couple examples from myself, right? The people that matter to me are my parents, very immediate friends, my significant other, and her family as well, right? Those people matter to me. Other people, don't get me wrong, I care about them. I hope they do well in life, but if it came down to it, I'm going to worry about the people that I listed versus everybody else, right? What matters to me? Honestly, I love educating. I love reading. I want to be a mentor to other people. That matters to me. Hanging out with my friends and playing video games, like that genuinely matters to me. I love playing video games. It's just so fun to me, right? What do I care about? Again, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I really care about educating. Like I want to be a teacher at some point in my life. Right now, I don't think that based on my financial goals that I have set for myself, I could be a teacher today, just given in the US, teachers don't really get paid a whole lot. But all of what I'm doing is in an effort to build a financial base so that I can then go be a teacher and not have to worry about the financial aspect of it, right? But just to give you a few examples, that's what I mean by isolate yourself and ask yourself, what matters, who matters, what do I care about, right? Now, once you do this, I would like you to imagine that you have just died, right? Like you've just passed and you are kind of sitting as a ghost above your casket and you're watching your own funeral. And that's pretty dark, but trust me, just stay with me. I'm going to land the plane here. Don't worry. But what will the people at your funeral say about you based on your actions today? That is a very big practice that I recommend a lot of you pick up once you've kind of isolated and asked yourself what matters, who matters, and what do I care about, right? If you want to be a reliable partner to your significant other, and your significant other was at your funeral, based on your actions today, would they say, person was a very reliable person. I knew that if I asked them to do something, it would get done, and they were the number one person I could turn to, right? Or would they say, they weren't the most reliable, but I guess they were okay, right? Like, what would their reaction be? What would they say? Let's say you care, for me, like, let's say you care about teaching people. Will people talk and say, oh, he gave it his all to be an educator? Or would they say like, yeah, I think he talked a lot, but, I don't know that he really tried to teach people, right? These things are very important questions to be asking yourself. Is the life that I'm living today conducive of this end goal, of this end person that I want to be when I pass, right? So with that, you now have a way to look at your day-to-day life and really find pride in some of the things that you do that you may take for granted, you may find mundane, but really are going towards that end goal of the person you want to be, right? Take these things and scrutinize your day-to-day life. This morning, I woke up and I absolutely did not want to go to work today. I was just I turned to my significant other and I was like, I don't want to go today. I just want to go to bed. But I put on my shirt, I put in my contacts, I did my hair, I put on my shoes, and I got out of that door, And dude, that's a W, Like, yes, do I love my job? Maybe, I find it enjoyable. But like I said, the whole point of me going to that job is so that I can earn the good money that I make at that job, save it, and eventually get to a point where I have financial independence and I can do all the teaching that I want to do any day, right? I get back those 8 hours, right? So that's the end goal for me. And in a pursuit of that end goal, me putting on my shoes, getting out the door and going to work is like, I should be proud of that. I did something really good today, and I lived the life that I talk, right? I want that to be my end goal, and I did it, right? Or I'm making steps towards that, right? So just take some time, after you've assessed what matters to you and you set these goals, you are able to ask yourself, is X person at my funeral going to say I was good or I was bad? Once you have that, take 3 seconds every day, at least once. I would recommend doing it as many times as you possibly can, but take 3 seconds to really appreciate yourself for doing the actions that align with those end goals, right? You'll find that if the more you do this, the happier and happier you get. Like, you think I love going to work and just filling out paperwork? It sucks. But I'm proud. I'm proud of myself. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to work. I'm doing the things that I need to do to get my life done. These are my goals and these are what I need to do to achieve it. And I'm doing it. It's like, what better can I ask, And be kind to yourself too. Like, don't expect every single action in your life to, 100% be laser focused into, being the end goal person, right? I mean, yeah, you'd be just like this uber human if you could do it, but I mean, we're not perfect, like sometimes we're going to do things that don't align, like I want to live a long, healthy life with low blood pressure, right? Do I love sodium? Hell fucking yeah. You know, like, do I want McDonald's? Yes, I do. Yes, please. You know, but, you know, I'm good 2 weeks. I may crack one day and I may have some McDonald's with some extra fries. That's fine. You know, like, just as long as that's not like the day to day, as long as that's not your lifestyle, you know, like, be kind to yourself. So, you know, that's another thing. You know, take time to appreciate yourself, but don't be too hard on yourself. But just try to slowly remove that, right? And it may be hard, right? It may be hard at the start to just kind of start to remove these things, but you know, because let's be real. I mean, a lot of us have probably surrounded ourselves with these things that are just non-productive, right? Like, you know, if you're trying to be like a consistent partner who is emotionally always there and like gets in shape, but you struggle with alcohol, right? Like your relationship with alcohol is not good. When you drink, you lose your dependency. Like, things you promise to people, you don't follow up on because, oh shit, I was drunk, you know? Or you're not able to commit to like physical expectations that you set for yourself because you're hungover the next day, right? Like, yeah, we all love a good time, whatever, right? But when these things start to get in the way of the person, the end goal that you would like to be, maybe we start to kind of like be honest with ourselves and try and remove that, right? And do your best to chip away. You know, some may not be able to do it all in one go, and trust me, it's hard, right? Like, as much as it may hurt today, though, I can honestly say it will pay off in the long run, and I can't recommend it enough for you to do it. So anyways, I hope this helps. If you'd like to read more about this kind of practice, again, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the habit is beginning with the end in mind. I would recommend just reading that chapter. All of them are fantastic, but this one in particular I really enjoyed. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you're at. And I'll see you on the next one.